This is the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. I'm Oisin Langan, and in the background you can hear the Shelbourne fans celebrating at Richmond Park. A late winner from Evan Caffrey, giving them a 2-1 victory against St. Pat's. They're now 4 points clear of Derry City at the top of the table. Derry City losing to Shamrock Rovers, who are third on 28 points. All three of those teams have played 18 games. Galway fourth on 24 points, but they have 2 games in hand. Of course, Shamrock Rovers taking on Shelbourne on Friday night. We'll have more on Shamrock Rovers' win against Derry in a little bit of a while. Barry Murphy watched that game and he'll join us to discuss it. First though, well, it all came down to this moment from Evan Caffrey. This is how we described it on the St. Pat's watch party, where I was joined by Aoife Mullen and John Flanagan. Williams gives it to Wilson inside the box. Wilson left foot. Wilson pulls it back. It's Caffrey. Caffrey turns and twists. Caffrey has found the net. Shelbourne have won it. Caffrey with 20 seconds of injury time to go. Got the ball inside the box, left-hand side, trapped it with his right, turned onto his left, somehow got the space, somehow got the shot away, and put it into the back of the net. It's St. Pat's 1, Shelbourne 2. It's heartbreak for the Saints.
Yeah, it's really heartbreak for Pats right at the end. But it just shows you, even though Shelbourne hadn't created a whole lot, they kept going to the very end. And it's just that a little bit of concentration. It's the new man only had to come in. He's just a little bit off the pace. And he just didn't track Wilson's run coming in. And Wilson's done really well, pulled it across. And then the finish is top class. And fairly, he's waited for Forrester to come sliding across. And as you said, once he's cut back onto his, it's a great finish. But it was just Freeman was just a little bit off the pace there. He just didn't track Wilson's run.
Former League of Ireland player John Flanagan on the St. Pat's Watch Party. You can check out the St. Pat's Watch Party on the St. Pat's app. We cover every game home and away. It does seem a little bit odd to more cynical older people like myself that you would watch people watch a game. But it seems to be a popular thing, and when it was put to me I said I'd try it out. And also what it does do is it provides a radio style commentary. So even if you don't watch us watching the game, you can listen. And if you can't get access to a TV or watch a game on LOI TV because you're driving or you're working or whatever, then it's radio commentary. And the thing is with Dublin clubs, not a whole pile of their games are covered on radio. When they play away, you can listen to the likes of LMFM, Drive 105, BBC Radio Foyle, Ocean FM, Galway Bay FM, who all cover games, WLRFM as well. But regards Dublin clubs, there's very little radio coverage of Dublin clubs. Anyway, that's my hard sell of the St. Pat's Watch Party. I hope you're buying. Right, let's get more on this game. Afterwards, Stephen Kenny, the disappointed St. Pat's manager, spoke to Anne-Marie Keegan of Virgin Media Television. And by the way, what a fine job Virgin Media Television did of covering this game last night. And after Stephen, we'll be getting the analysis of Barry Murphy on this game and the one in Tala, where Shamrock Rovers beat Derry City by 1-0.
Oh, listen, I'm delighted with the application of players. I thought they, to concede the early goal and to come back and, be in the ascendancy for a lot of the first half. Shelbourne had a spell then where they controlled a bit the second half and were keeping possession very well. So for us to wrestle back the initiative, the substitutes made an impact, in that. And it was an absolutely brilliant goal from Jake Mulroney. So, we obviously to concede the 20 seconds left for the players, I didn't think they deserved that on the night. But that's the way it goes.
We spoke before the game and you said how this Pats team keep being on the wrong end of really tight games. It's happened again tonight. How is that something you can change? Is it something that will change with time?
No, obviously I'm only in the door since Thursday. So, it's someone said a deja vu, but I think, listen, we lost 1 or 2 players to injury tonight, but we shouldn't concede the goal that we did. So, we should have been able to defend it better than we did. But I thought the players were tremendous tonight. They really in that period after getting the goal, we looked like the team that would win it and forced a lot of corner kick set plays. And we had our dribblers were running into players. The 2 young substitutes to come on were terrific and really dribbled at pace. onto Shell's defence, and they defended well. To be fair, they do defend well, and they've defended numbers, and in the end they got the winner, and best of luck to them.
This is the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and we're joined by former Shamrock Rovers, Bohemians, and St. Pat's goalkeeper Barry Murphy. Barry, you were on commentary duty for LOI TV last night at Tala. You watched Shamrock Rovers bounce back with a 1-0 win against Derry City. Before we talk about that, you did see the goals from Richmond Park. What did you make of them?
I thought they were a really high standard. It sounded like a great game. It was a kind of pity we were to get to two big games run at the same time. Myself and Conor were kind of keeping an eye on live score at the scores coming in as the goals are going in Richmond Park, and I just saw them after. They were incredible. Jake Mulroney's free kick is the highest standard. It's such an incredible strike, and then for Shells to go and win it in the last minute with a mad kind of goal. It was just a fitting way the season has gone so far, that those type of goals go in, and it's a huge one for Shells, big win.
A really well taken goal by Evan Caffrey. Damien Duff said afterwards he was delighted for him. He also said, by the way, that Jake Mulroney is one of the best free takers in the world. But defensively, Pats will be kicking themselves regards that second goal, won't they? Well, Shelbourne's second goal, the third goal of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was so poor. They got themselves back into it by all accounts, St. Pat's as well. It's just, you have so many chances to clear it, and you just can't let them cut in from the left-hand side and play that sort of ball into the box. And then you still have numbers in there from a St. Pat's point of view, and to let them get a shot off. And it's just so poor defensively, and it looks like an even bigger job now for Stephen Kenny than he might have anticipated.
Now he has a few days. This is the first time he kind of nearly gets to breathe and actually talk to his players properly, because he came in on Thursday, they had a game Friday, they had a game last night, Monday. But now they have a few days to that Bows game. How much of his messaging can he get across? How much can he tweak, change in that time?
I think get quite a lot, I think. As you said, he barely got time to name the team sheets and get to know some of the players before he had to put out two teams. And there were two huge games as well in past the season. But listen, he's got a full week now going into the next game. So he's got a couple of days to sit down and listen, find out what way. He would have seen a lot last night, I think, with what way he wants to go forward with the amount of players and the personnel he has at the moment. So he'll have got learnings from those two games. That's the only positive really into bringing into the game now at the weekend. So he'll know himself what formation is going to work best with this group of players, I think. And obviously he's got Sean there as well, who's carried over from the previous manager as well, that he can lean on to try and eke out a system that really needs to get points on the board soon enough.
And you could see it over the two games. There's little tweaks, there's little improvements, but they'll need a bit more against Bulls. That'll be a tough one on Friday night. As you mentioned, you didn't see that game. You saw the goals and have heard all about it. The game you were at was in Tala, where Shamrock Rovers beat Derry City by 1-0. Tell me about the match.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it before. I was really disappointed in Derry. In a way, the pressure was kind of off them. Rovers had to go and win this, I felt, I think, especially with the result on Friday night, and really jolt their season into life. Derry were excellent on Friday and played a tight 4-3-3 with Hoban the focal point, and they were looking to do similar last night. They started off that way. Obviously, Hoban was suspended, Mullen was up top, but they were just really poor. And as Rory mentioned in his post-match interview, they really lack personality. I think you could go there and win, and you're 7 points clear of Shamrock Rovers at this point of the season would have been huge. And that takes a personality to go and do that. And they look lacking all over, really, from a Derry point of view. And you've only got one more chance. Like, you only have to play Rovers one more time in the season as well, so that gap would have been huge, an 8-point thing. But they had 0 shots on target for an under pressure goalkeeper in Poles to not put him under any sort of pressure last night. They were just so poor holding the ball. Mullen up top just didn't hold, just wasn't a focal point. Like, Mullen couldn't play off him. It was poor all over from a Derry point of view, but from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, they were reeling from Friday night, and you could see it. They were punching into tackles, sharp, decisive football up the top end, and they could have been 3-0 up at half time. Johnny Kenny got in twice, got his goal. Obviously missed the penalty as well, and a couple of other chances, and they could have been out of sight at half time. And you're thinking maybe is this have they rolled it up a little bit, Derry, and you've got Patrick McElhenney to come off the bench, Dan Kelly, these types of players that could change it. But again, never really got into the game, Derry. So yeah, really disappointing from their point of view.
I do want to talk about Shamrock Rovers, but to concentrate on Derry, they did have time to react to going 1-0 down. So why didn't they? Was there any kind of bit of spark or fight or anything? Because that goal was scored by Kenny after only 7 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it looked like Rovers were going to hit 2 or 3 straight after it.
Wow.
Derry didn't really react. They were sucker punched really a bit. The Derry had started okay, a couple of half chances in the first couple of minutes, but then Kenny got in a couple of minutes before that. Took a really smart saving tackle from Adam O'Reilly on the line. He went around Brian Maher, saving tackle on the line. That should have been 1-0 then, and a couple of minutes later the goal went in, and it had been coming. Derry just didn't react to it. As I said, they had that 4-3-3. It was a tie 4-3-3, and Rovers just down the wings, just put balls in behind the fullbacks. Flourish was excellent on the night. Got down to the byline. His just end product wasn't quite there. He's a little bit rusty, but it really could have been more.
Did they bring on McElhenney and Duffy, Derry, to try and open things up? Because generally that would start creating chances. And I'm curious to know if they did come on, why those chances weren't created.
No, Duffy started. McElhenney came on. Yeah, Duffy started on the left. He was pretty good on the left hand side. He just didn't have the impact he had on Friday night.
Should he have, sorry, and this is real, Tuesday morning quarterback stuff as it is. But should you be holding Duffy to throw him on when a game opens up? Because you could see it on Friday night how he was just loving it out there, and there was a little bit more space, and he was getting a little bit more time than he might have had he started, and given his injury profile. And I'm not saying this will always be the case, but at the moment he doesn't look like a 90-minute player, and he looks like maybe if you get a good burst of 30 minutes out of him, that's his best role.
Yeah, and the counterpoint, I suppose, is he was their outlet in the first 30, 40 minutes, and that's how Derry got out. McMullen wasn't great on the other side, so that was the real outball. I think you were bringing him on when they were 2 or 3 down. If they hadn't had him at that stage, I think so we wouldn't have made any sort of impact. I think the thinking behind it was obviously to try and keep themselves in the game, and he'd be their attacking outlet with Hubin not really there. He was their focal point for maybe getting the goals, but no, it just didn't work. Again, didn't get him on the ball enough, didn't get him isolated enough with Clark or Honohan down that side at all, and that's where he was excellent the other night. He really isolated Breslin and moved over to the other side as well, and that's where he's at his best on that side. It just didn't happen for Derry at all.
Okay, Shamrock Rovers. The back three of Cleary, Lopez, Honohan. Again, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I'm taking this off Google. Then you'd Farouja on the right, Nugent, Poom, Kavanagh, Nidji, as I like to call him, in the middle, and Clark out wide. How are you, Nidji? Coola boola, Nidji. I'm not sure if Sean Kavanagh would be flattered by the comparison, but in fairness, it's a Tom Vaughan Lawler, good actor, handsome man, so I think it's a good comparison. And then Kenny and Burke up front. Without really realising it, well, I hadn't realised it, I should say. I didn't say any. I won't say no one else had. That kind of middle five, as I'll call it, not exactly that. That's kind of changed this season, and it's needed to change. Are they now settling into themselves? Because it sounds like they were good going forward and clogged up the middle and stopped Derry getting any kind of front foot or any kind of attack or momentum going in attack.
Yeah, they were excellent, to be fair. It's hard to kind of call what formation they are playing because they are so versatile and fluid in their movement. Trevor Clark was right up on the left hand side at one stage, and he was kind of playing as their wing back, but he was way up top. He was nearly as three on the left side of the three. So it's hard to kind of put a man on man situation in the centre, which Derry really wanted to do. Dummigan started tonight instead of Diallo. And they were trying to stick him in the middle to kind of break it up there. He just didn't have a look in. Rovers were getting through them far too easily. Once they broke that first initial press, they were 3-on-3 at times against Derry's back four. And McJanet had a really poor night and gave away the penalty. just so sluggish first. He was Trevor Clark jumped through to him and McElhenney for a tackle, and they just looked like they were carrying a fridge on their back, the two of them. Just couldn't get near him, and then McElhenney nearly gave away a penalty. The exact same thing a couple of minutes later. They just weren't at the races at all. They struggled against Aaron Green's and Dylan Watts' passing up in the Brandywell, and it was similar again tonight.
Could fatigue have been an issue for Derry City? It's their second trip to Dublin in 4 days. I know they're professional athletes, but
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of lads before the game, a couple of Derry players about were they thinking about staying over in Dublin on the Friday night, but it was just too long, I think, to stay for a Monday game. You know, when you do have that kind of, obviously hotel prices down here doesn't help either, but when
they're
you've got a
crazy.
billionaire owner, it's probably not a massive issue. But listen, they said they were fine coming into it. I would have thought Diallo might have started and kind of shored up things. Instead, he came on later on. They just weren't at it. Hooben was just such a massive miss, and you could see how good he was on Friday night, holding the ball up, bringing players into positions, and it just didn't happen at all. They didn't really get a clear run of a clear spell in the game, and as I said, no shots on target.
It's weird with Hooben because when he was with Dundalk, I said, this guy's dropping back way too deep. Get him close to the goal. But then you look at that Dundalk squad at the time towards the end and you think, well, they've no choice. I thought with Derry, he'd just be goal hanging, but actually he's doing the same thing. It is effective and he does seem to be enjoying it. But it just goes to show how important he is, not just at finishing moves, but also maybe starting them and creating them. And you've said that many times.
No, that's 100% it. But it was Flourish doing that last night. He was putting in an incredible performance. He's getting on the end of things. He was knocking things out to the wing and then getting on the end of them in the box. He should have scored a header like that in the second half, but he was excellent. But they really missed Hooben.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. For Shamrock Rovers, it is Shelbourne at home on Friday night. That has Belter written all over it, doesn't it? And great atmosphere as well. Should be a cracker.
Yeah, it should be brilliant. And to be fair to Derry, they brought down a few fans last night, but it'll be nothing compared to what Shells have under the gantry now on Friday night. And we're lucky enough to be involved in that one myself, doing co-coms and that. So yeah, it should be a cracker, especially with the late winner.
It is brilliant, isn't it? Because when you're doing LOI TV, you are always afraid that a game like that will be taken by Virgin or RTE, and then you're just left sitting there. And as a commentator, you really want to be involved in this type of game. You want to be involved in come here. Last night it was just so frustrating to be sitting at home when the game was on in Richmond Park, and it was a cracking atmosphere. And look, it's fantastic for the league to have Virgin Media and RTE involved. I'm being incredibly selfish. Barry, maybe I have more in common with professional footballers than I think. I get annoyed when I'm not picked, but you have to smile and do your best for the team. Isn't that right?
That's the one. Put on the face and clap when the goals go in.
Clap when a good commentary is done, which in fairness it was. Come here, Bernard is fantastic. I said it last night. Virgin have some fantastic commentators between McIntyre, Bernard, Mark Rodden, Trevor. They've great analysis as well.
No, it's brilliant for the league. It's brilliant for the league to get that much exposure across the board.
Yeah. For St. Pat's, it's Bows on Friday night. There's no easy game, is there? As we've seen for any team in the league this year.
Oh, it's incredible, really, isn't it? We were kind of going through some of the stats last night, and Shells are the only team that are better off. They're plus 7 points on where they were last year. Rovers are 8 points down on where they were. Wow. Derry are 4 points down. It's incredible, like with Waterford and Galway. Waterford 16 points up on UCD where they were. Galway were 12 points up. I think this was Julian Kenny's stats. They were excellent. Galway are 12 points up on Cork. That's so competitive, and that's none of these games are gimmies. You know, it's just when you look at what's across the water and in England and Man City and Arsenal, and you have to win 15 games in a row to go and win the league. It's so different here, and I think it's brilliant. It's such a thing to watch. It's excellent.
Well, listen, unlike City, Shamrock Rovers will get to keep their titles in years to come, and they're winning them by fair means. I may sound like a bitter Arsenal fan there. Just before we go on Shamrock Rovers, how important is it now that they find consistency? And do you think, given what you saw last night and how settled they kind of looked, they will now find that consistency?
I think they will. It was a massive result last night, especially off the back of Friday night. But getting that result and marrying that with a couple of players, Aaron McAniff came off the bench last night to rapturous applause as well. He looked fit, he looked sharp. Jack Byrne was there, Graham Burke was doing his part. You get Gaffney back, and I think I was talking to Gary O'Neill before. He reckons he'll be back around the window.
Okay.
League race should be back next week as well. So it's starting to find a bit of form, and the players are starting to come back as well.
Okay, that's worrying for every other team. Although Shelburne, they don't look like they're afraid of anyone, and why would they be? Barry Murphy, formerly of Shamrock Rovers, St. Pat's and Bohemians, thank you very much for joining us. Yet another Barry Murphy derby on Friday night as Bohemians host St. Pat's. Barry, thanks for joining us on the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, which was recorded at the later time of the day after the game this time around. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Oisin.
That's almost it for the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast on what is a big week for Irish football. It's fantastic that the Europa League final is on in Dublin. Now, does it do much for Irish football? I'm not sure, but it's cool to have something shiny to look at. But the most important thing is that while it's great that's on, even if it wasn't, we'd still have great games to look forward to happening on this island, in this country, in the coming days, weeks and months. And we have a product that we can be proud of and that we can really enjoy. And look, it is only my opinion, but League of Ireland football in the 80s and 90s, when I started watching it, granted only on telly then, and when I started going to games really in about 1999, it was awful. It was played on horrific pitches. It was played by non-professional athletes. That's no diss to the guys who played it. That's just the structure that was there at the time. And there was no... For a lot of clubs, there was no real tie to the community. It was just about your first 11, and everything was based around the first 11. And like the clubs had no real support. And I remember Stephen Finn, a great journalist on the League of Ireland scene, saying to me that if you rang a club during the week, you'd struggle to get someone because everything is just focused on, paying your 11 players. Now the clubs have structures. Now, they need to improve. The grounds need to improve. The facilities need to improve. We all know that. But I think we're in a place where we can justifiably call for those improvements and get support for them. There are elections coming up, so remember that when you're casting your vote. And when you're talking to a politician, and do talk to politicians, ask them, what are you going to do for my local sporting facilities, my local club? It doesn't have to be a League of Ireland club, but by all means ask about your League of Ireland club or whatever club you support. It doesn't even have to be soccer. Right, as I mentioned, good games coming up during the week, including the Europa League final. That's on Wednesday night. But on Friday night, the big stuff is on. The Premier Division, Bohemians taking on St. Pat's, Derry City up against Sligo Rovers, Galway United taking on Dundalk, and at 8 o'clock on Friday night, Shamrock Rovers against Shelburne. 6 points between those two at the top of the table. Athlone Town take on UCD in the First Division. Cork City welcome Treaty United. Kerry are up against Finn Harps, and Wexford play Bray. Wexford drawing 1-1 with Cove Ramblers last night. In the Women's Premier Division on Saturday, it's Shelburne against Cork City, Peaman take on DLR Waves, Wexford meet Treaty United, Sligo Rovers play Athlone Town, and Shamrock Rovers are up against Galway United. There is one game in the First Division on Saturday night. That is Longford Town against Cove Ramblers. The Leinster Senior Cup is back next Monday night. Bray Wanderers taking on St. Pat's. St. Pat's will hope to have their first win under Stephen Kenny by then. Let's get a full look at the table, by the way, in the Premier Division and the First Division. Shelburne are on top on 34 points. Derry second on 30 points. Shamrock Rovers third on 28 points. So as I said, there is 6 points between Shelburne and Shamrock Rovers, but Derry are in between. Galway fourth on 24 points, but they do have 2 games in hand. Bowes fifth on 23. Waterford sixth on 22. St. Pat's seventh on 19. Sligo Rovers eighth on 18. Drogheda United second from bottom on 15, and Dundalk bottom on 12 points. Now, I imagine some of you are saying, well, you went through the fixtures on Friday and Saturday, but you forgot that there's Thursday night football. Honestly, yes, I did. I normally just kind of scroll forward to Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday on the FAI Connect app when I'm doing these outro links and going through the fixtures. So on Thursday night, Waterford take on Drogheda United. It will be live on Virgin Media Television. It kicks off at 7:45. And I have to say, I'm looking forward to the Thursday night experiment. There is a theory that you'll have more League of Ireland fans available to watch because they won't be at games. My worry there is that that's not too many more fans. That doesn't swing your TV viewing figures a whole pile. Like if there's an average of 6,000 to 8,000 people going to a Shamrock Rovers game, and then an average maybe of 2 or 3 going to other games, those are extremely rough and possibly incorrect figures. That's really only somewhere north of 20,000, kind of maybe heading towards 30,000 people who would be at games who'd watch it. Now, what I hope is that your LOI TV crowd, as in people who don't go to games but watch it on LOI TV, they'll watch it. Or people who are doing nothing else. And keep in mind, there are distractions for people on Friday nights. There are some people out there whose Friday nights are not all about football. I don't know any of these people, but apparently they do exist. So maybe on Thursday night you get some of those people. And you get some people who would have watched Europa League matches, but in the absence of any other football, they'll watch this. You do have to get that floating voter. So it'll be interesting to see how it works. I do think you need consistency. I think you need to try this for a while. I don't think you can try it once and judge it off just that. I think it's something that should be done more regularly. But we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's it from me. I will talk to you on Saturday morning. Luke Jordan will be along with an Extratime.com League of Ireland podcast very shortly. And by very shortly, I mean maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday. You can check out everything that's going on in Irish football on Extratime.com. And McDara Ferris, by the way, will be doing some really good work ahead of the Europa League final. So watch out for that as well. As always, if you could like and subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. It really helps us out. Everyone who's involved in this podcast is doing it on a voluntary basis. So you'd be doing us a solid, and we'd appreciate it. If you're going to the Europa League or watching it, do enjoy it. I might see you on Thursday night if you're going to Waterford for the game against Strada. If you're watching on the telly, I'll give you a wave. That's it. Take care. Good luck. Bye-bye.